Hey everyone, it has been a fantastic 2019. So in this one, we're going to kind of do a bit of a roundup and discuss some of the biggest impacts of the year 2019. Hey everyone, I hope you're well playing and or making the games that you all love. You're joining me, your host, Max Pears. And I apologise if I have a bit of a gravelly voice. I'm just starting to come out the end of a fever, which was not fun for me, obviously. Got deep chills, so starting to feel better. My voice, sadly for everyone, is no longer as sexy and Barry White-esque. Is now back to getting back to its more normal sound and tone. But yeah, it's great to be here with you all, and I hope everyone is having a good time and getting ready for Christmas. And speaking of Christmas, I want to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's episode, and that is Gamerborn. Gamerborn is a great site if you're looking for gaming apparel, whether that be clothing or such other things, accessories like mugs. All of that is there. They do great quality work. I've got some of their shirts and I really enjoy them, and I think they're a great place if you want to get something maybe for someone that you love, or if you're looking to treat yourself, then there's a range of items that I'm sure you will enjoy. And maybe if you've got a little one that you're trying to make sure they become a future gamer, they've got great clothing options for that of the little ones as well. So if you are looking for a gift or a gift for yourself, then look no further than Gamerborn. There will be a link to them down in the description below, but if you use the promo code, all one word, Level Design Lobby, capital L, capital D, and capital L, then you will get a 10% discount on your purchase. So go over to them and check them out. Okay, now that we've got the great sponsor out of the way, we're going to be talking about 2019. So we're going to be talking about a few things regarding 2019. Now, obviously, I didn't have the time to play every game for 2019, and I've just got everything up to look at it, and I've missed a few. But we'll be talking about some of the games I've gone through. I think we'll talk about a bit of my kind of journey alongside a few things here. I think just because I'm in a fortunate position where I've been able to go be part of the marketing and the presentation side of game development, working, on Cyberpunk, being there at E3, as well as other events such as Tokyo Game Show, China Joy, and a few others as well. So I'll be talking a bit about them as well, because I think they're important to discuss, kind of what you can expect, how it feels to be there. It's obviously a different skill presenting versus that of level design. So going through those sort of things alongside it. But first, I want to actually talk about one of the kind of big unknowns that was a surprise this year, and that is Apex. I think this came out in February of this year, and Apex Legends was one that just blew up out of nowhere, and it's getting done by Respawn. We'll be mentioning Respawn later with Star Wars, but I really enjoyed what they did here. I think this was such an interesting project, an interesting way of revealing the project too, because the fact that no one knew about it, there wasn't a huge marketing campaign. It came out, and then I think what they did, and I could be wrong, so this is what I'm speculating, I think they reached out to some of the big streamers and obviously got them involved to get its awareness out, and then that's how it started to circulate. And so from a marketing standpoint, it's a very different one, where it's not these traditional adverts that we see on mainstream media or even just through the internet. They came a little bit later, but it was first about just releasing the game and then, as I said, getting involved in that Twitch kind of community, that streamer kind of competitive side, which I thought was such a very interesting one as well. And I think what I really liked about Apex, and I was not a champion, I never won, but one of the things I did enjoy about this was, well, one, firstly, the level design. Respawn, to me, are definitely one of the best studios in terms of quality of level design, no matter what it is that they do. I think you can see that within Titanfall, Apex, and then also Star Wars. And they're very different styles of games, but yet they still bring something different. I think you cannot question, in my opinion, but I think it's just overall, that for the Battle Royale genre, the best level design has to go to Apex. Now, there may have been some that came out that I'm not aware of, but I think they had the best level design, honestly, and that's what I think makes it memorable. You know, they spent a lot of time creating these sections, and you could feel the transitions between them, as well as starting to be able to create a mental map for yourself. Like after the third game, I kind of was able to recognize different areas, so I knew, okay, this is where that will be. All because they had very distinct kind of sections as well as local landmarks to help you kind of understand the space. Not only that, but the way that you move in that game and the gunplay is supreme. You know, it is a great way to play that game. I think there was so much that you could do and enjoy. And, you know, it may not be Titanfall 3, but wow, the way that you moved is, you can tell it's got inspiration from the Titanfall series. And I think that is one thing that was just a great thing to see. So yeah, Apex kicking off the year was a really interesting way to do so. I really I use interesting in the way that I didn't see it coming. I didn't know anything about it. I think actually I was on one of the marketing tours at the time, and we just had a meeting, and I just done a presentation either the day after or the night before, and people were discussing Apex and how big and, you know, how quick it became. I think it was number 1 or number 2 maybe on the streaming in terms of Twitch. So yeah, it did some amazing things, and I think there's a lot to learn for that. I mean, who knows if it can be replicated. Obviously its numbers have gone down since its launch, but it's still one of the most played online games, I believe. So I think it's, you know, made a huge impact. So I think that's a brilliant one for it. Another game that came out throughout the year a little bit later was Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. Now this one, the Always From Software games remind me how bad I am at video games. I am not good. Those ones definitely kick my backside over and over. What they do, and I think that I always think is the most interesting, is they do experiment with that of the death mechanics. You know, it's not just you die and restart. You know, in some games I feel like the game over screen is just redundant. Like, why is it even needed, you know? Because you're obviously going to hit continue. But this one, there's strategy, especially in Sekiro, where you can revive yourself, but it has a negative impact with the plague spreading across the world, as well as the traditional ways of dropping resources which you have to reclaim. So I think I'm always fascinated in terms of design choices, how they're experimenting with so-called death. I think that has been something that we as an industry have not really moved on from since the arcade era, when they were game over to make you put coins back in, to make you spend more money. Well, now if you think about some games, it says game over and you just hit continue. That's wasted time. It was unnecessary for that. And it's kind of makes you feel a bit bad because, yeah, you know you failed. Why does there need to be a screen to remind you? So, yeah, I think it's always fascinating to see where they go and how they expand on it, because if you look at where they were from Dark Souls 1 to Sekiro, it's changed. And I think that's always respectable, how they're learning and trying to figure it out. I know this one's been divisive. Some people prefer, say, the Bloodborne version versus this one. Other people prefer it. It's one, though, that I'm happy that they're taking risks on and trying to make it fit in with their game. Yes, you can see the inspirations, but I love how that they have essentially gone through and said, okay, this game is different, not only in theme, setting, and weaponry, but also looked at how they can change that for the game. So I think that was, to me, one of the most interesting things, and I think we should be thinking about it more moving forward. You know, World of Warcraft is a great one where you're spirit and you have to go find your body. It may be a bit mundane in some ways, but I think it's also great for that game. I think it works so well for it. So yeah, I just want to say that I respected that. Obviously the mechanical arm, fantastic. But yeah, it just reminds me of how bad at games I am. I still like it though. Still didn't get anywhere near to completing that, let alone getting past a first boss. But we keep moving forward. Resident Evil 2, man, what a interesting one this has been. Like, I need to stop saying interesting because I know being English, this can be interpreted 1,000 different ways. But what should I rephrase as in, what a great inspiration of how to actually do a remake. Now, I've only played a little bit. I've recently because I played it at a friend's house, shout out with Seb. But what I've done is I've just picked this up, so it will be one of the games I play over the holidays. But what I think is great about this one is it just shows you how a remake can and should be done. You know, it's not just... Think of another one that came out, I think, last year, and that was Shadow of the Colossus, which the first game, was such an amazing game and still is, in a big landmark, I think, in terms of storytelling and emotional impact for design. I think a lot of those, the big three of them, Ico, Shadow of Colossus, and Last Guardian, are very much masters in terms of emotional design. But what I think I love about Resident Evil 2 compared to the Shadow remake is the fact that they've understood, okay, this was a big win for us back when it released on PlayStation 25 years ago. But it's also that they understood things needed to change, that the industry and our kind of design standards have changed as well. And I was unfortunate enough to work with Vord, who has been on the show twice, with his wife Martha, who, again, those two are phenomenal concept artists, great people. And Vord actually worked on Resident Evil 2 and did a lot of the concepts for the police station. So there was, that for sure is definitely one of the biggest levels, I think, of 2019. When you think about it, the amount of people that speak about the police station online for sure is, I think, a benchmark in how that has evolved. And I think that's one of the most important things, is understanding that just because it was great when it was first came out doesn't mean it'd be great now. And, the way that they've changed a fair few things on it. And yeah, I just think in terms of remakes, and I know that they've announced, or was it leaked, that Resident Evil 3 was going to be remade. But what a strong one, and a lot of lessons to learn from this. And I strongly think that this is an interesting way where the games will now move forward, because I do think it's important that we have these classic games. That's why I don't get annoyed when people re-release. Obviously, I prefer not to spend, but as long as it's not a price of a fully fledged game, that's fine. Because I think we need to remember these classics. We need to understand what made them great, as well as, how far we've come since then. But seeing how they've done it, obviously Final Fantasy VII, that looks like that is, and I've been fortunate enough to get my hands on it as well, that they are doing a similar thing like Resident Evil 2, understanding that games have changed and applying that theory to their own design choices and updating them. So I think that was a great benchmark of remakes. So I think that was an overall phenomenal one to see. Moving forward, we have a shout out to my previous teammates, and that is on Tom Clancy's The Division 2. I think this one, to me, and obviously I have a little bit of bias towards this, but in terms of out of the gate, this has to be the best looter, I don't even know how to describe this genre, MMO looter shooter that has been released just on day one. When you think about Destiny 2, I think that they have rebuilt it to be amazing again. But when it first released, and it is hard, this is not me slagging them off, because I know from working on these type of games how hard these are, especially when it's kind of a new genre as well. Like Division and Destiny were the first to try these out, and they did some phenomenal things. Bungie are great, and it's great that they've got their IP from Activision, and they're going to continue to make even better additions. But I think that, to me, was a great benchmark. I really did enjoy seeing their success and seeing the love that it got, because there was a lot in there that you got right off the bat, and there was a lot of time and mistakes that the company had learned from Division 1 and applied it to Division 2. And so when you got there was still a lot to do. And I knew about Washington being the location, obviously, before it was released, and I was always unsure how that would turn out. It wasn't a location I would have picked personally, but they did it. They made a very memorable location. They managed to turn the streets into such a great battlefield there that I think, and they built upon the previous one. Like, I can definitely look at that and be like, okay, well, this, I can see where it was inspired from number one, but now see the new elements they've added to it. So to me, just as a fan and also that of a former employee, it's great to see my team or my former team and my friends go out there and make something as good as that. Honestly, I think that was, to me, one that I'm so happy for them. I think this, to me, is just a great one overall. We then have Kingdom Hearts 3. Now, I have spoken a little bit about Kingdom Hearts 3 because of, obviously, I'm a big fan. I really enjoy it. I have a Keyblade over my bed. This is why I sleep alone. Many reasons, but that's for sure one. But yeah, no, I think that was a really interesting one because, oh man, and see how I'm saying interesting again. Let me phrase that. I was always kind of wary on where that one would go because of how long development had taken for this. And there was some really nice ones with Birth by Sleep, obviously. We kind of got a taster of what the combat would feel like with Kingdom Hearts 2.8. So for me, finally getting my hands on it was, an overwhelming experience because it's a franchise that I grew up with, as I think it was like 13, 14 when I was, to now being 27 and being part of the industry. I think that's been it. And I've made friends because of Kingdom Hearts, like a friend of mine, Soren. When we were, working late on a previous project together, because myself was Tech LD at the time, we're working in the department, and he was Tech Art, and our leads were out for a meeting, and that we would have to work together to try and figure out things and help people, and we were definitely underqualified. There was a reason we were like junior. But what we do when we were working on stuff is when it got late, I'd have a 3DS with me. So we'd switch between, he would figure something out, then I would come in and figure something out, and we'd tag team the Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop distance. And that was a way that we became friends. There's other friends that I've made through it. But that was, it's just some fun memories that I've had with this. So to finally see Kingdom Hearts 3, visually, it's so beautiful, and how it adapts to each kind of art style, and seeing Frozen and Tangled, which is one of my favorite Disney films, put in that world was so good. And I think I should probably do a proper breakdown of Kingdom Hearts 3. One of the things I appreciate that they did so well is in each world there was a unique mechanic to that world. In Toy Story, it was you being able to pilot these mechs. In Tangled, it was more these kind of more subtle moments I found that when Rapunzel is kind of starting to explore the world, you can help her see nature. For example, you guys can get into a small kind of lake, and then you can do some summoning to either, I think, splash her, and then you have this little water fight, versus when you're on the grass and there's some like piles of leaves, and you can use your arrow, I think it's called, your wind power, to blow them around. So that was a nice kind of emotional connection, and much more. There is a lot more of these mechanics dotted through, and I think that was one of the most interesting things to see. Well, see, I'm saying interesting. One of the, I think, most inspiring things to see from that game is how not only did they look visually, distinct, but they also had a great sense of difference in the gameplay per location as well. And it, to me, was, I don't think it was a 9 out of 10 game, to be honest, but it was a solid 8. I think there was so much in there to like and to learn. And I feel if they got just a little bit more time, it could have been even better. But I think it was a good way to conclude, I think it's the Xehanort arc, if I'm correct. So it'll be interesting. Yeah, I will be looking forward to see where they take this franchise again and moving forward with it. But yeah, no, I think it was nice for me to finally get that conclusion, as I imagine for many other fans as well. And I feel sorry because I remember I have spoken to a few of you from the Discord, how you just bought the game, this is the first one you jumped into, because there's a lot of craziness that happened before that. But yeah, brilliant one. I think another game that popped out that I have not had a chance to play, and I don't know if I will play because I'm not too sure if it's my style of game, but one that I think is one that has definitely caught a lot of eye and attention, especially for the Switch, is that of Fire Emblem Three Houses. And it seems that, I have never played any of the Fire Emblem games, but it seems it's almost a back to form kind of way in that it has such a strong impact on people, and so many people seem to enjoy this version of the game, this iteration, and how it combines that kind of persona-esque style of getting to know your characters, but then that having an impact on gameplay. So I think that's really smart as well. Like I said, I've not had a chance to play it, but I've taken a look and watched a few things on it, and it seems there's a lot of smart design choices going through. So to me, again, just one that had a big impact on the year, and especially for Switch. I feel like the Switch was kind of almost a slow start, the end of last year and the beginning of this year, but this one, Luigi's Mansion, and a few more that have just kind of helped to make, Switch feel at home, that it is a strong console. Obviously, the release of Switch Lite this year as well. But yeah, I mean, I love my Switch. I travel a lot, so it's always something great to have, and I'm about to finish up on Luigi's Mansion 3, so I'm excited for that. But yeah, again, I think it came at the right time to help make something, to help make the Switch feel even more stable as a platform. Now, there is many other games we can talk about. Devil May Cry's throwback to, great combo attacks. I think that's great to see. Borderlands 3 bringing it back, showing us more on how crazy guns can get, as well as that core loop of the looter shooter. Outer Worlds, which I think, was a big surprise in a good way for people, and seeing how that game has come on by and again made a big impact for the team, so I'm glad for them. You obviously have Pokemon Sword and Shield. I have picked that up, but I will be playing later. Death Stranding. Now, I haven't played this game. This is my plan for Christmas, because I'm recording this obviously before Christmas. But for those of you who don't know, I will be taking some time away from the podcast over December and a little bit into January, just because I need a bit of a break. And Death Stranding is one I want to play. I'm obviously a huge Kojima fan. He is one of the people that inspired me to get into the industry. I've met him a few times, been fortunate there. So Death Stranding is one that intrigues me. I don't want to say anything. I've tried not to look at any reviews or hear people's opinions, because I want it to be very much my own. So yeah, but again, a huge impact in terms of this year. We also had Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, again showing how Respawn are just very good at tackling level design in different ways, as well as I think bringing a new standard, or as well as bring the standard back up for Star Wars games, I think, and it seems to be reviewed very well. Again, I've only played a little bit for it, so these last kind of latter half of the year I haven't had a chance to play, but it's been great to see these come through with it. There's obviously a lot more. Gears 5, Days Gone, I want to give a shout out to them, because they did a great job as well. Days Gone, I believe, was early in the year as well, and again, not one that I've played fully way through, but that just the amount of sheer zombies that you can do, and like how you can use them, like, to me, that's such a creative way on how to use AI. That's one thing that this game has to be praised for. Its creative use of its solutions with them. Honestly, again, another great job by that team, because they have done some phenomenal work with that game. Rage 2. This is more, I think, again, just phenomenal gunplay and the craziness of that world. So I think they have nailed that down. Untitled Goose Game. There's been a fair few indie games which have come out and done some amazing stuff, but Untitled Goose Game, I think, that stole the heart of the internet. So I think that one's been a fun one, and yeah, just if you haven't seen it, it has got a lot to just laugh at about. Blair Witch as well. That was a great unexpected one that like put the horror genre back on notice. I think that was a very gives me shivers. The team did a great job there. I think they're a Polish team as well. I got to meet one of their producers earlier in the year, and yeah, phenomenal team. This game is on my to-do list, so if you have played this, let me know what you think about it. And that's called Disco Elysium. Again, it's another indie game, but it's just had such an impact on how, I guess, the dialogue system, because you suffer from amnesia, and if I'm misquoting it, please let me know, but you have amnesia, and again, the choices that you make in your dialogue kind of change your character slightly. And I think that one's always seems to just... Again, I haven't played it enough to fully comment on it, but I'm just saying, from what I've heard, has been a very interesting one, I think, moving forward. We've had other great games, Katana Zero, which to me was a brilliant game. Honestly, loved how that came about, how it's just so stylish, you know. It's got that feel of, was it Miami Hotline Miami? And yeah, I think that one to me, if you haven't played it, do check it out. It's on the Switch, and that's what I used to play it. It's a great story. I think the characters are nice, the art is perfect, and the soundtrack is phenomenal. My Friend Pedro, I think that one is another. I remember watching that one go through development. I think he used to work at Medium Molecule. I could be wrong, the developer who made it. But the creativeness of that gunplay, shooting pans, spinning across through glass, all of that, I think really was a nice... That to me is kind of the close experience to, say, something like John Wick, where you have, gun fu, as it has been aptly named by the world. But you've got that in here where it's like anything can be used as a deadly weapon, and just changing those physics slightly, it can, make the gunplay so interesting. So yeah, some good ones there. Astral Chain as well. That was been a great one for the Switch. Crash Team Racing. All of these, and there's much more that I've probably missed out a bit on, but I just want to say that it has been this chair. It's the chair, just for the record. But it's just been another phenomenal year of gaming, and that's what I really want to shout out and just say thank you to all of you amazing devs who work so hard on these games. I know sometimes it's hard to see because we get negative comments out there, but you have all done an amazing job. You have all done phenomenal work and made this year such a memorable year for video games. So thank you for all of your hard work, sincerely, from me to you, as a fellow dev, as a player, and much more. Just thank you for all of your hard work. I really do appreciate it.
Love games? Love game design? We do too. So why not help us here at Level Design Lobby spread the word? With Patreon, from as little as $1 per month, you can do just that. And new for 2019, we have more reward tiers and even more awesome perks on offer, such as access to our community Discord, level design weekends, exclusive talks by professional designers, one-on-one sessions, and much more. Sound interesting? Then head on over to patreon.com/level design lobby for more information and to pledge your support today. As always, we'd like to say a massive thank you to all the game gurus who've backed us so far. It's thanks to your generous support that we can continue to grow, pursue new opportunities, and bring you new, awesome, and exciting content. So thank you.
I guess now we'll move on to a bit of the events that I've done. So I've been fortunate enough, again, this has been a very busy year of travel in a good way. I've got to go off and see many different parts of the world I didn't think I'd get to see. For example, China. That was really, really cool for me to see. I didn't think I would ever get to see China just because it was never fully on my to-do list. But it was a very nice place. I know obviously there's a lot of stuff going around with it in terms of the news and stuff going on, especially with Hong Kong, where I've got friends out there. But I want to talk about the people when I say it was nice. Like, the people there were very friendly to me, very welcoming. Even if they didn't speak English, and my Mandarin is nothing for people to say ni wow to. Let me say that. That is an awful pun, but I'm proud of it. And yeah, the people were just very friendly. I think the passion of games and also the different interesting games to me was great. And also to see how people react differently to different games. They have a much more of a mobile scene and more accepting of the free-to-play market than the West. And when I say accepting, I'm not saying we need to accept everything. Obviously, loot boxes, I think, has a lot to work on. But I just mean that seems to be more of their normal and accepted, as well as style that they want to play, versus our kind of premium, you pay for the full game. And yeah, no, there was just a great sense of vibe there. I think my favorite one was, to me, because when I was there, they had announced the Cyberpunk card game, which I was not aware, because it's hard to get reached by people that are not in China, obviously, with the great firewall of China. But we were asked about it, and I just remember freezing because I had no idea what he was talking about, because I didn't know a game had been announced. So that to me was one of my funniest moments and funniest fails of the year. Also did E3. E3 was great. There was the big moment reveal with Keanu. That was brilliant. I think to experience E3 again, I didn't think that I would, to be honest. When I did E3 last year in 2018, I was like, okay, cool. That was like a nice one and done. Because one of the things that I love about where I work is they do try and make sure that there are many people who get to go to these events. It's not just the same few, obviously. And I think that's great because it's celebrating the devs' hard work. Obviously, like I said, the skill set is slightly different from that of making a game, obviously. But to go back and do it again, and I was in charge of doing the presentations for the public area where the audience could come check it out. And to feel the passion from all the fans and the hype, and to get to meet people. I got to meet Anderson Silva, who, for those who don't know, is a mixed martial artist legend. And to see him was crazy. There was other people that showed up for, I'm not very normally starstruck, just Anderson Silva was a great one. I got to see and meet Comic Story, and a huge shout out to him. Because of the fact, I listen to his work, his stuff, his channel while I work. So that's always great to meet someone and just let him know that his work, has an impact on what I do. So that's always a pleasure. And just the overall passion from everyone, it's something you don't always get to see, because obviously you're so focused, tunnel vision on making something great, communicating with your team. But to be able to see that, I think it's important for devs to try do and go to as many of those as you can. Truthfully, it's something that I feel bad because I don't think I can relay it to people. I wish the whole team could be there to see it, because it's very different for me to be like, yeah, they're super hyped, versus hearing the cheers, people coming up to you and saying, I can't wait for this game. So yeah, if you can, try do head to these events, especially if you can represent your team and represent the game that you're working on, because to me that was a childhood dream to do that, and to be able to go twice on, like I said in my E3 episode, I do not think there will be, or maybe there will be, and I hope there is, but for a new IP, the amount of love, support, and hype around it, and me being one of the people that gets to talk about it with fans, obviously the reveal of Keanu as well, I don't think it's going to be very hard to top that as a memory. It's going to be very hard to top that. Then moving forward, I headed on off to Tokyo Game Show. And that one was a great one as well, because Tokyo Game Show was on my to-do list, and I did not think I would be able to ever do that one, because a lot of Western games don't particularly sell that well in Japan. I'm fortunate to say, The Division did sell really well over there, I think, because it's New York, the setting, it really had an impact with people wanting to check it out. Obviously, it's an RPG as well. So to find out that I was going to Tokyo Game Show, man, what a great time that was. It's very different. If you go to there versus that of E3, the vibe is very different. Obviously, the culture is different as well. And me and my brother are going to head over to Japan next year, which I'm excited for. But yeah, for my first experience to go to Japan, and also to check that off my bucket list as well, I cannot say, anything nicer. Got to meet very nice journalists as well. I think it's always great to meet them, because I know there's sometimes, obviously it's their job to find stuff out about the game, but obviously there's a reason we don't try get any leaks, and the reason is because we want you to experience it. It's not as nice having it secondhand. I mean, when you just as an example, when you think about E3, the run-up, there's so many leaks. I'm not going to lie, we were petrified that the Keanu reveal was going to be leaked. And that would have ruined the whole thing. It really would have. It would have deprived you of a great experience. The marketing team have done such a phenomenal job. All marketing teams, PR teams, all of them are trying to do their job to such a high level. And when leaks happen, it's a real shame, because people are trying to do this in the right way. Also, certain things with games, we don't want everyone to find out about the game because we want you to experience it. It's so different being told that this will happen versus you getting the chance and hands-on and feeling that for the first time. So yeah, I know there's always some kind of unease sometimes, but to meet the ones that I have, just generally nice people and just people I could just chat with, and they're excited about the game. I'm excited to talk about said game. So yeah, that one was a fun one as well. Also this year I got to go off and do my own talks, my own presentations. For those of you who don't know, if you go to the $25, the silver tier on my Patreon, you'll get access to all of my personal talks, as well as talks from other great designers. We've got a new one coming out. I think if it's not out already, it will be out just after this episode airs. But all of this, I've done 4 talks that I've got up: understanding your level mental mapping, shape theory and level design, leading lines, and now creating engaging combat spaces for level design. That's more on range combat than close quarter. But myself to go off and do that and meet amazing people again, and passionate people. I mean, it's great to obviously travel and see the world, but to see this through doing video games, I didn't think this was going to be my my life, not in the slightest. I was very much, I'm going in, I'm making the game, and I still do. I mean, if you haven't seen, I've got all the streams of personal work that I'm doing, the podcast talking about loving games. I've written articles this year that have been very well received too. And to be able to travel and meet new people around the world and have people want to hear and learn from what I have to say is something nice, because I want to give back. If there's so many things, like this is part of the reason I do the podcast, on why I want to give back, because being where I was, there was so little resources out there for level design. Obviously now there's more. We've got more amazing podcasts out by other great, fantastic devs. There are brilliant places of resources. Shout out to nextleveldesign.org, who do great stuff for level design. So I think there's more and more coming out, which makes our industry better and grow even more. Like I said, that's part of the reason I want to do this. And also, big shout out, we actually just got Level Design Lobby was made it into the top 15 of of game development podcasts. We're number 13 this year, which is phenomenal. And super happy that we got chosen for it. To see that love and support, it's all thanks to you, amazing listeners out there. Thank you for your support, and to receive that, obviously, is just a high praise I didn't think about. I didn't know there was lists like that. And to be put there with podcasts that I listen to, the podcast that inspired this show, man, very heartwarming indeed. So I cannot, thank all of you enough with that. Now, we are actually going to start to wrap things up. I am going to stop. For those of you who are part of the community, I'm probably going to not be active or reachable from, I think it's the 17th or 18th of December, just because I'm going to go back home. This year has been a fantastic year, obviously, for games, for me personally, but also it's been a tough one for those of you who I'm sure are aware. I had some family issues. That's been hard to do while I'm in a different country and deal with, but I'm, going to just kind of sit down more, spend time with the people that I love, take some time away from just work, just so I can just relax and kind of just, as I say, be more in the moment with my family for the holidays. So yeah, I just want to say again, thank you, all of you. It's been a great 2019, second year of the podcast. So wow. Crazy. I think we have now over 90 episodes released of the podcast, including everything. On the YouTube, there's over 100 videos because of the streaming. But yeah, we're almost at 100 episodes completely for the podcast. 2 years down. We're not going to slow down. So just want to say thank you again for making this possible. Thank you for always the support team. So yeah, if you do want to reach out and maybe tell me some of your favorite moments of the year, you can either leave a comment down below on if you're listening via the YouTube. But if you want to reach out, please contact me on Twitter, which is @MaxPairs. If you want to instead maybe email in, then you can do so, leveldesignlobby@gmail.com. And then if you want to help support and make sure that we continue to ever grow, and maybe you want to see my talks, then please head over to patreon.com/leveldesignlobby. Thank you to all the patrons that we have and I've had throughout the year. It's been phenomenal. And yeah, a big shout out again to the sponsor of the show, Gamerborn. Again, if you're looking for great gaming apparel, check them out. There will be a link to them in the description, as well as the promo code for you to get 10% off your purchases and any purchase that you desire. So yes, thank you all very much. There is one more episode coming out this year, which is an interview with another dev. But this is probably the last one that we'll record for this year. So thank you all so much. I hope you all have a Merry Christmas or Happy Hanukkah or whatever that you celebrate. Thank you all. I hope you're having a phenomenal time with your families as well. And you just have a great time. And to 2020, my friends, making it an even better year. Catch you all later.